do you get when you combine Hong Kong action films, Japanese horror, and giant mecha anime? You get the sequel to one of the past decade's best first-person shooters. Fear 2 was developed by the amazing Monolith Productions, who are also responsible for such classic games such as Shogo Mobile Armor Division, Blood, Blood 2, The Chosen, and the No One Lives Forever games. So I can safely tell you, even if the plot of the game is generic and terrible, there will be snarky, self-referential dialogue.
You're like free pizza at an anime convention. She can smell you, and she wants to consume you.
I hope it's not one of those horror movie things where she reads your mind and uses your deepest fears against you. That would suck.
Bloody ultra-violent gameplay, and plenty of jump scares. Fear 2 was released on February 10th, 2009 for the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3, with the Steam port being released 2 days later on the 12th. I will be taking a look at the 360 version today, so any problems I may have had with my version may not apply to any of the other ports of the game. Fear 2 Project Origin is Monolith's sequel to their outstanding game Fear and its 2 expansion packs, and let me tell you, this is one summer movie-going experience in game form. It's a game for gamers, by gamers. Fear 2 takes place right as the events of the first game are wrapping up. This time you play as Michael Beckett, a special military operative who is sent in with the rest of his squad to safely escort and protect a woman by the name of Genevieve Aristide, who is the president of Armacamp Corporations, from her penthouse apartment to protective custody. After fighting your way up to the top of the building, you meet up with Genevieve, and the events of the first game's ending explode in your face. Throwing you into the living hell that is Alma's nightmare of a world.
Now.
That may sound awesome, but sadly the pacing of the plot isn't really there, as storytelling is not this game's strongest suit. If you came looking for a strong, rich narrative experience, you better look elsewhere. This game is for those who want to shoot everything that moves, leaving the room to look like a worse mess than it was at the end of the lobby shootout from The Matrix, and still feel totally terrified even though you are a superpowered badass. Don't get me wrong, there is a story here, and it tries to touch on some very mature themes.
She's too dangerous.
You're telling me to seal my daughter away.
You knew it would come to this. We both knew.
It just doesn't handle it, or its characters, as well as it could. Most of the story you will get is from collectible file documents you find scattered around the environment that can range anywhere from being super important to the plot to as useless as a school's lunch menu. While I do appreciate they try to fill you in on the story and the universe in-game, it's a hassle to pick them up and read them, crippling the flow of going from one firefight and set piece to the next. Another missed potential was the characters and how they are integrated into the story. Half your team is simply cannon fodder, while the other members don't actively have any input on the story until the halfway point.
We have to help her.
But when the characters do start to actually get involved more than just giving you objectives to complete, they're interesting. But by the time that has happened, the game's credits are already starting to roll. The one character that is fully fleshed out for the first half of the game is a man that goes by the name of Snakefist.
Who the hell are you?
You could call me Snake Fist.
Snake Fist? Are you fucking kidding me?
A character who is really only there to give you information about certain plot details, but is written far better than any of the other characters that say pretty much the exact same thing as him. Remember kids, delivery of lines is important. Thankfully, the characters who survive get much better and more focused and even become very likable, resulting in you not wanting to see them die.
Hey, Beckett. Good luck, man.
But like I said earlier, it's far too late in the game to actually get properly invested in them as much as you would like to. The story is all over the place with its themes and narrative and doesn't really stay consistent with anything it tries to say or do. As I said, it tries to tackle adult themes, but none of them really come to the forefront of actually having anything important to say. Other than a WTF moment at the end of the game, none of its dark themes will really bring you down. The story in the end really just feels like a backdrop for the game's shootouts. With that said, how do the guns feel? goddamn incredible. That's what. Shooting feels great, except for the neutered shotgun, which has been nerfed to high heaven, doing much less damage in the game than it did in the original, and overall just feels like a major disappointment. Thankfully, everything else you use is a treat, and shooting gives you a sense of weight, and every shot you land feels satisfying. Environments and people rip to shreds upon the bullet's impact, resulting in so much carnage and collateral damage happening all over the screen. Thankfully, I never felt disoriented by any of it, and shootouts were fun and visceral, among being easy to navigate your vision through. Sadly, the controls that are not based around shooting are a bit clunky and slow, with a slight delay to almost everything you do, but thankfully this is not enough to ruin the gameplay, which is fast and frantic but still has enough strategy involved to not have it just be a mindless shooting game. You'll be using a wide variety of weapons, most of what you have seen before in first-person shooters, but they all have a unique feel and are fun to use. Well, with the exception of being the normal shotgun, which again isn't horrible, it's just not great. You'll get your hands on machine guns, nail guns, rocket launchers, and quite a few other guns before the game is over. When you hit an enemy, they will act like they actually got shot and will act accordingly, clutching their shoulder or stomach in pain. Most of the time, you'll be more focused on blowing them away into satisfying gory chunks of bone and flesh. Trust me, this game is violent and gory, and it's fantastic. One of my favorite things to do was cock a grenade and then throw it only a second away from detonating into a group of enemy soldiers. That's good stuff. The enemy soldiers also have an okay assortment of diversity among their ranks, with flamethrower soldiers, normal ground troops, heavy armor, and snipers, while the replicant forces return, albeit in a slightly different fashion than they did in the first game. Now, those guys feel fun to fight. What are not fun enemies to fight, however, are the mutated sidekicks who crawl alongside the walls and ceilings and pounce on you when you least expect it. They serve as a jump scare here and there, but they quickly devolve into an annoying pest that is best being blown away quickly with a blast from your shotgun. They crawl fast and are hard to hit, so using your slow-mo against them is a must. There are quite a few jump scare quick-time events that, like the crawlers, are startling for the first couple of times, but after that are just an annoyance. One of my favorite parts of the game was the part where I was able to operate a giant mech for myself. These segments were great, but way too short-lived. The mechs are powerful and the giant miniguns left nothing but a bloody mess of anyone who got in the way of fire. I wanted to pilot the mechs more than just a couple of times, but it's nice to know that Monolith still loves themselves a fun mech to use. The environments, although not exactly inspired or unique, all feel different, even though they can look somewhat similar sometimes. You will fight your way through labs and hospitals, destroyed streets and abandoned schools, and will finally make your way through a tram station to a power plant. What can I say? The game loves itself some cliche haunts. The game also looks really good. Even for a nearly 10-year-old game, textures look good and the designs of the guns are also unique enough to this game that I want to look at each of them. So you may be wondering, is Fear 2 a good game? And I will tell you that indeed it is. It's a fun shooter that has enough spooky moments that will catch you off guard the first time you play through it to make it worthwhile. It really feels like you're playing a summer blockbuster that you would go see with a couple of friends. The story may be disappointing, and the ending boss battle, if I really could call it that, left me saying, really? That was it? But if you can overlook the downsides, there is quite a bit of fun to be had here. The game will range anywhere from 6 to 8 hours your first playthrough, but then will go by much quicker the second time you play through it. Knowing exactly what to do and where to go, my second playthrough clocked in at about 3.5 hours of footage, and that's with a couple deaths thrown in. The game is very easy on the lowest settings, so I only recommend it if you want to be a nigh invulnerable killing machine. Definitely go for the higher settings. Sadly, there isn't much replay value and the multiplayer community is completely dead, or at least it is on the consoles. Fear 2 Project Origin is an extremely fun but messy game that is worth a couple of bucks you will spend on it. It's not nearly as good as the original, but is a fun game in its own right. I think I'll leave you with that. It's a fun game, and wants you to know it. Thank you so much for watching. This is Theory Williamson signing off until the next video.